Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our weekly Tuesday call with Red Earth. My name is Matt Ham, co-founder of Uprint, and help with the encouragement, training, faith development, personal development, holistic living side of everything that John is wanting to accomplish here at Red Earth. And we've been doing this since January, and I really commend you guys for sticking with it. It's been awesome getting to know all of you. Look forward to continuing this throughout the year and years to come. You know, I talk with a lot of people that we do these calls with because I work with multiple teams. And, you know, a lot of folks say, you know what, my life's just crazy, and it's great to have at least 30 minutes on a given day where I know I can just sit down, unplug, and process some things. You know, I would say that should be a part of every day, but understandably, folks have to get into the practice and habit of slowing down and choosing to be reflective and process some encouragement and really start to understand the dynamic and power that you have to take your thoughts captive, to begin to make decisions that are going to send your life in a direction that you desire to go, rather than making decisions and having thoughts that are just kind of inconsistent with who you are and where you want to go. So that's kind of the baseline of all of this. We hope to do it in a way that is fun and just encouraging and creates a sense of community here so that you guys can jump on. You know, we open up these calls so anybody can share what they feel led to share. I am actually always open to if one of the team members wanted to take one of these calls and just share something that's been on their heart or something that they're learning, and maybe we'll introduce that kind of as a segment almost into these calls going forward. Because the one thing I don't want this to be is like a rote routine habit. You know, we don't want to just do things because we feel like we have to do them or we're obligated to do them. We want to do things because we truly desire to do these things that we know are going to move us in a better direction. So that's kind of a commercial, if you will, for these calls. But thank you guys for being a part of them, and certainly for all the value that you guys add to the communities that you're engaged in. And it has been a really good season from what I hear. You guys are kind of rocking and rolling, and some good things are happening. Some traffic is starting to come back. We're starting to see some vibrancy and some life, and that's exciting. So that being said, today's topic and content is the concept of finishing well. Finishing well. You know, I have to share a story that's actually really, really funny, and John could attest to this if he were here. As many of you know, I worked for John Pinter fresh out of college when I was 22, which is 16 years ago. I was a sales assistant at one of the communities he was working for down in Palm Beach area of Florida, and we were a part of a massive, very successful land development company at the time, the Ginn Company, and you know, that has since come and gone with the wave of things, but nonetheless, John and I both worked together then, and that's where John began to develop a lot of the principles and practices that he now institutes and implements as part of Red Earth. Kind of learned from the mistakes made back then, learned from the success back then, and the process has just been refined over the last 20-some years, and that's why Red Earth really exists, because this is John having walked through this, put everything into this great bundle that is the best practices for success for new home sales, and that is what Red Earth is all about. So you guys are a part of an incredible team with a lot of history and legacy that's been forged through the ups and downs of the market, if you will, and it's not just some fly-by-night, flash-in-the-pan kind of thing, and so that's why it's so cool to be a part of. But that being said, John's always been about encouragement, always been about motivation, always been about mindset. And I'll never forget, one of the cool things that we did when we were with the Ginn Company is we had a thing called the fourth quarter kickoff. Now, we had multiple different communities, all part of the same company though. And so we would get everyone together in a centralized location. And I remember this particular year, we did it at Disney's Wild World of Sports. So we were in Orlando, just outside of Disney. Most of the communities at the time were in the Florida area, so everybody converged upon Disney's Wild World of Sports, and we pretty much had the softball fields and all that kind of stuff to ourselves. We did crazy activities like human bowling, which was awesome. We did softball. There was all kinds of kind of competitions and kind of inter-company dynamics there, but it was all to foster the idea that we wanted to finish the year well. You know, the fourth quarter is really interesting in most sales environments because you have a dynamic of different people. You got people who have been really successful throughout the year and they want to tank off and just kind of cruise into the finish line. Then you've got folks who have had a tough year and they're really pressing hard to get to the finish line. And then you got folks who have had a tough year and they just don't care anymore, so they're ready to unplug and just whatever. I'm looking for a reset. And my fear is that this year, 2020, because of what has happened, that there's a temptation and a tendency for us to take that last kind of marker. It's been a tough year. I'm just ready to unplug. I'm ready for 2021 to get here. So we're just going to kind of limp through the final 3 months of the year, and that is not a good thing. So today's call and the purpose of today's video, if you will, is do not limp to the finish line. There's no nobility in limping to the finish line. You right now have a moment in time to make a decision to finish well. And I will say this, it matters because how you finish 2020 is going to affect how you start 2021. So my kind of snap here is, all right, everybody, let me have your attention, right? How you finish 2020 is going to determine how 2021 goes. If you make calls, if you generate momentum, if you build relationships, those are all going to flow into 2021. What you know and I know that in your business, it's generally not an overnight transaction. It's not like you have somebody walking into the store saying, yeah, I need to get like a liquor store is always the quickest turnaround. You know, people usually go in, they know what they want, and they pick it up, right? And they're in and out. You know, that's not how it necessarily works in real estate. People come in, they look around, they're kind of trying to figure things out. They don't know. Maybe they're 6 months out, maybe they're a year out. You know, maybe they're ready to make a decision, but they're not sure on details. It's your job. That's why you're hired to be here as a realtor, is to work with clients to help them figure out what it is that they desire and then help bring that to life in the new home arena and in the neighborhoods and the communities that you all represent. That is what you are an expert at. And so the activity that you have today is going to affect 2021, and the danger is limping into the finish line. Because you know what? It's been a tough year. You know what? It's really been hard on all of us, all that kind of stuff. So we have all these justifications and excuses as to why we can pull the plug and limp into the finish line, but that's not going to happen. So I got a little sidetracked. Back to Disney Wild Water Sports. We were having the fourth quarter kickoff back in the day when Penner and I were working together. This has been 16 years ago. One of the things they always did at the fourth quarter kickoff is brought in some high-powered celebrity-type motivation. You know, they always were working, and the company was all about excellence, and so they were always working to bring in a well-known someone to speak to the team to kind of give us that rah-rah speech, right? You know, in the past, they focused on a lot of sports coaches. Bobby Bowden, who was a national championship winner with the Florida State University, had come to speak. I know that Rick Pitino, who was an NBA coach and a college coach, had come to speak. And this year, we all knew that somebody else was coming to speak, but we didn't exactly know who it was. And we're all sitting out there. You got the whole company gathered, right? Everybody's sitting on the lawn, and we're waiting on this guy or this lady, whoever it's going to be, waiting. There's kind of rumors going around. Well, I heard it might be this person. I heard it. What if it's John Maxwell? What if it's, you know, all this kind of stuff? And all of a sudden, a guy comes up, and he's wearing a sun visor. And immediately you knew that it is Steve Spurrier. Steve Spurrier, I believe, won a national championship with the University of Florida as a coach, went on to coach the Washington Redskins, which now the Washington football team for this year. And Steve Spurrier was a very well-known personality at that point. This is before he went back to the University of South Carolina to coach, where I believe he played and won the Heisman Trophy. So Steve Spurrier, big personality. Steve Spurrier had just gotten off the golf course, and they hired him to come in and talk about the fourth quarter. And so to stay focused in the fourth quarter, right? Well, guys, this is hilarious. Steve Spurrier gets up there, and if you know anything about Coach Spurrier, Steve Spurrier is not lacking for confidence at all. He's quite confident, as most professional-type coaches are, and this guy walks into this room full of salespeople, and he looks at me and goes, okay, guys, I know you guys are here to talk about the fourth quarter, but I'll tell you what, I always like getting a big lead early. He's like, back when I was coaching Danny Werfel, University of Florida, he said, we averaged 42 points in the first half. I always like getting a big lead early so I didn't have to worry so much about the fourth quarter. And I can see the look on John's face and the other guys he was working with. These guys are literally melting down because who knows how much they paid this guy to come and deliver a message. And he delivered a message that was exactly the opposite of what they were trying to get across. And it's hilarious to me because it was like watching it was watching this drama unfold. And so I could see the guys going, hey, Steve, but the fourth quarter is important, right? They're trying to prep him. He's like, yeah, it's important, I suppose. He was like, and then he kind of caught on to the fact that, like, Steve, we brought you here to talk about finishing well and being strong in the fourth quarter. And he finally goes, oh, he was kind of like, oh, okay, I see what you're trying to go. So it was hilarious. So every time I think about the fourth quarter, I think about Steve Spurrier coming and totally dropping the ball when he was supposed to talk about finishing well. He instead talked about how successful he was in the first quarter. And to this day, it makes me laugh. And so John and I reminisce about that from time to time, and we crack up about it. So all of that being said, I want to give the anti-Steve Spurrier talk today and tell you guys that you have to finish well. In fact, how you finish is going to determine how you start 2021. Now, what's interesting about this is, from what I'm gathering from you all, there's a lot of activity in the communities. There's a lot of things that are going on. We said earlier in the year, I've been doing these with you guys every week, and we said, guys, stay prepared. It will turn. It will turn. I know it's seeming dead right now, but do the work. Put in the work. Be ready. And then when it comes, boom, you're ready to go. So right now, I would say that you guys are probably in the middle of that wave starting to kind of come to intensity. Folks are starting to get back out there. The fall's coming. There's a lot of energy. The weather's going to be phenomenal. All these different types of things. All the stuff is going to be behind us as far as moving into a new, direction with sickness and all the news and all that kind of stuff. We're moving in a new direction, and the wave is starting to peak. The question is are you guys ready? Are you ready to take advantage of the momentum that's coming? And I don't want to make empty promises. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm seeing, and you guys are telling me, that there's activity. Things are happening. Things are starting to pick up. So the question is are you ready for it? Have you been prepared for it? Because now is the time that you guys have been waiting for. Activity's here. Earlier in the year, it's, there's not a lot of activity, just waiting for activity. Well, you got activity now. So now where are you? It's one of those environments where you kind of check yourself and say, okay, well, I wanted the activity. Now I got the activity. Am I capitalizing on it? Right? So I want to take this moment to say there's 3 things I think that you guys can do, that we can do, in order to really capitalize on this fourth quarter. 3 things that we can do. This is practicality coming to the ground with this, that we can do on the fourth quarter. And it starts with assessment. Okay. In order to finish well, I think you need to have time for assessment. Now, interestingly enough, with kind of the slowness, if you will, of the year, a lot of folks use that as an excuse to go, well, my goals are kind of out the window anyway. But what I would challenge each of you to do, if I know you're a salesperson, if you say you're a salesperson and you don't have some type of goals or direction for your year, I would say that you're not fully committed to the career of sales. Being in sales naturally means that you have to have some type of direction and goal in order to bring yourself into alignment with. And so I would say go back to January 2021, pre-COVID, pre-social unrest, pre-news media, pre-weather phenomenon, pre-election, whatever. And ask yourself, what did I set out to do this year? What did I set out to do this year? And here you are in the fourth quarter. Where are you? Where are you? If somebody set out to do 2 sales a month, that's 24 sales in the year. Where are you? You sitting at 4? Are you sitting at 2? Are you sitting at 6? Where are you? The point being is the year's not finished yet. Energy is here. Activity is happening. Are you going to capitalize on it, or are you going to throw in your chips and just say, well, the year is spent? The point being is if you said you set out to do 24 sales, 2 a month, and you've had 6 year to date, okay? That means that there are 18 sales left remaining, right, between now and the end of the year. And you might say, well, Matt, it's just absurd to think that I could do 6 in October, 6 in November, and 6 in December. Well, if you think that and if you say that, you're absolutely right. It's absurd to think that you could do 6 sales in each of those months, get your 18, and get your 24 for the year. So I'm challenging you to really process how you're thinking about closing out this year. Do you think you could get 6 in a month? Do you think you could get 5 in a month? 4? I don't know what the number is. The question is it all starts with what you are thinking about how this year is going to end. If you're ready to cash in your chips and just call it a day, then that's what's going to happen. But if you set a trajectory and say, you know what? There were some things this year. I'm taking an assessment of where I am versus where I said I wanted to be, and I'm going to look in the mirror. You know, I think one of the things that I alluded to in my book is a lot of folks love to tell other people to look in the mirror. In fact, we love holding up mirrors for other people. You know, you're a jerk. Don't you see? You know, you're slacking off. You know, you're not doing what you said you were going to do. We love holding up mirrors for other people. But we very rarely look in the mirror ourselves and go, you know what? How have I contributed to where we are? How have I contributed to where I am? And that's the whole concept of personal responsibility. Until you take responsibility, you have no power to actually affect change in a situation. When it's always somebody else's fault, or always the economy's fault, or traffic's fault, or leads' fault, or social media's fault, or the government's fault, when it's always somebody else's fault, you can't change it. But when you go, how have I contributed to this, and how am I going to respond to it, then you have the power to change. So assessment is the first step in finishing the year well. You got to look back in order to go forward. You got to look back in order to go forward. Where have I been? What have I been doing that's been contributing to where I am? And how can I finish well? So finishing well begins with assessment. Basically, ask yourself the question, where am I? Where am I? One of the most powerful moments in my entire life was when I was going through a really difficult personal time. My marriage was failing. I was struggling with a lot of things personally, alcohol being one of them, just really in a rut in life. And I had an epiphany one day, and I wrote down in my journal, I am here. Changed everything. I'm here. This is where I am, and I'm owning it. I made decisions that brought me to this place, and those same decisions are not going to take me out. But the good news listen, I'm still here. I'm still here. No matter if you've had a bad year, no matter if you've had a great year, you are where you are. And taking the moment in time to go, you know what? I'm here. I'm still here. I still have breath in my lungs. I still have opportunity ahead of me. No matter, the world can take everything away from me, but they can't take me. I'm here. And as long as you have that, you have this opportunity. I'm going to show you guys this. See that? What is it? It's a blank page. I finished my book, Redefine Rich, with this, and I'm going to read this to you guys. And again, it's context here. The book's called Redefine Rich. It's an acronym for how to live a rich life. It's not about money or so forth. So it says this: becoming rich isn't measured in numbers or years. It cannot be qualified. As I've said, it's in your actions, which is the legacy you leave by the story your life tells. I imagine there will come a day when words will be spoken of us upon our death. My challenge is that we live so that the words, "You make my life rich," are etched on our gravestones. Remember, everyone has a story, and that story matters in ways we cannot begin to understand. Your page is part of the story. Without you, the book is unfinished. I'm leaving the last page of this book blank as a reminder that this story is not over. Your story is not over. You are here. Your story is waiting to be created. May it be a rich one. That's how I ended this book that I wrote 6 years ago or whatever it was now. This is the same concept of the fourth quarter. Right now, the fourth quarter is blank. You have an opportunity. It begins with assessment. I am here. Once you recognize that, from there, what you get to do is number 2, which is set your direction. One of the greatest things that I have heard lately is confidence does not breed direction. Direction breeds confidence. My mentor, my business partner, Kevin, told me that about a week ago, and it blew me away. Confidence does not breed direction. Direction breeds confidence. I think a lot of us are waiting on the direction to come out of the confidence. Like, well, things are going good now. Now I can have direction. No, direction is actually what breeds the confidence. When you know where you're going, that everything else falls to the wayside. When you know where you're going, you can have the confidence to move in that direction. It's not the other way around. So number 1 is assessment. Number 2 is set your direction. Chart your course, right? People say it like this: if you don't, like I say, if you don't aim to hit a target, you're going to hit it every time. You know what I mean? Or if there's not a target, you're going to hit it every time. So you have to know where you're going. You have to have direction, okay? And the final thing is execution. If you've assessed the situation, if you've established direction, now you get to execute. You see, a lot of people get it backwards. They execute first, and then they determine direction, and then they make an assessment. How am I doing? Right? I think it's the other way around. How am I doing? Where am I going? And then execute. It's an upside down paradigm. Most folks, it's work hard, then know where you're going, and then look back on it in retirement and go, things went well. It's the upside down dynamic. Look back and go, where am I? Where am I going? And then get busy with it. So guys, I want you guys to finish well, close out the year well. The page is blank and you're setting the stage for 2021. Opportunity is ahead of you, and my hope and prayer and the reason why I'm even here is so that you guys can take that on and tackle it and achieve whatever it is that you guys desire to. The power truly is in your hands, and you guys get to chart your own course, and that's exciting. So you guys have a fabulous day. Thanks for tuning in to our weekly video. As always, let me know if you need anything. Matt@uprint.life, or my cell is 910-619-4644.